forum tonight is to provide our chamber members and community with an opportunity to learn more about the candidates vying for the important position of Mayor of Swansboro. We appreciate all the candidates taking their time out of their schedules to be with us for tonight's event. Assisting tonight with our forum are Mike McHugh and Sorilla Cochran. Mike is the past president of the chamber and a member of the Governmental Affairs Committee. He will handle our forum rules, information, candidate instructions, and ask our questions. Sorilla is also the past president of the chamber and the co-chair of the chamber's Governmental Affairs Committee and has the important job of keeping all of us on schedule tonight with a time clock and letting our candidates know how much time they will have left for the answers. In addition to keeping time, Sorilla will also alert our candidates that they have reached their allotted time. When the candidates have reached their time limit, Sorilla will sound a very highly technical and Swansboro Town government approved timing device and let our candidates know that their time is up. So Sorilla, if you will, give us a demonstration of this technique. That's a little Bill and Donnie for y'all. So once again, thanks everyone for taking your time to come to tonight's event, and now I'd like to call on Mike McHugh to the podium for more information. Thank you.
Thank you, Gigi, and good evening. As Gigi noted, my name is Mike McHugh, and I have the privilege tonight to serve as the moderator. Our plan tonight is as follows. First, we shall introduce our three candidates, and they will each have 1 minute to make an opening statement. Then we shall begin with our questions. These questions were submitted by chamber members and the community and have been reviewed and approved by the chamber's Governmental Affairs Committee. The order in which these questions will be asked will be at random, and we are hopeful that we will have time for all questions to be asked. Each candidate will have 90 seconds to answer the questions when asked. Each candidate will be given an opportunity to answer a question first and consequently be the last to respond to a question. At the end of the official questions, each candidate will be given 90 seconds to present a closing statement. Prior to the 90-second closing remarks from the candidates, and with time permitting, questions submitted by tonight's forum attendees will be presented. These questions will have been reviewed by our Government Affairs Committee members prior to the start of the forum. So at this time, I would like to introduce our candidates in alphabetical order for their 1 minute opening statement, beginning with Scott Chadwick.
Thank you, Mike, and I appreciate all the folks that took time out of your busy schedule to come out tonight. My name is Scott Chadwick. I live at 101 Ocean Bay Road in Swansboro here with my wife, Dawn, and my 2 kids, Alexandria and Danielle. They attend Swansboro schools. I've been mayor since 2007. In 2007, when I ran saying that we needed to chart a new course in Swansboro, and I think we've done that. I think when you look around town and see some of the fruit of what we've been able to accomplish together, our team of commissioners and our staff, great staff. Tonight I'd like to talk about some of the things that we have done and also some of the savings we've made for our citizens. I see I'm running out of time, so I look forward to the conversation.
Thank you, Mr. Chadwick. And next we have SD Junior Freeman. Mr. Freeman.
Thank you. Yes, I am Junior Freeman. My wife Linda and I live at 220 Harborview Drive in Swan Harbor. Our 2 sons live here as well as with their families in River Reach West and also in Hull Street North. We enjoy Swansboro. We came to the area in Cedar Point back in '98 and moved here in '09. We are vested in the community. We own property at the Swansboro Plaza, rental property, and created jobs there. And we just love the town, and I've enjoyed serving as a commissioner for the last 4 years and getting to know most of the residents in town. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. And finally, we have Rick McCormac. Mr. McCormac.
Good evening. My name is Rick McCormac, and I live at 226 South Water Street. I've lived in Swansboro since 1987. I'm here tonight with my wife, Greg. Both of my sons, Will and Ward, are here. my in-laws, WT and Susan Casper, and my brother James is also here, and I'd like to thank all of them for coming. I moved to Swansboro right after I got out of school at ECU, and I was planning on coming down here and living for the summer and then going somewhere and finding a job and moving on with my life, and just loved it so much and found the quality of life and just everything down here so amazing that I never would leave, that this is home and this is where I'm going to be. And the reason I'm running is I want to preserve the things that brought me here and that I love, keeping Swansboro small and quaint. And I know we're going to have change, but I want us to manage it so that we don't ruin the good thing that we have here.
Thank you, Mr. McCormac. And gentlemen, before we begin with our first question tonight, I've been asking you to pull the microphone as close to your mouth as possible so that everybody in the room can hear what you have to say. We'll begin our first question, and we'll begin first with Mr. Chadwick. And here's the question. The current building height limit in Swansboro is 35 feet throughout the town. This has been a hot topic during the past and current administrations. The conditional use process is being considered to allow structures taller than 35 feet in certain areas. What do you feel the maximum height should be for the conditional use process? And please explain why.
Thank you, Mike. Now, I'm in favor of the 35-foot mean height limit in the historical district, but I have said on frequent occasions that I would certainly consider 45-foot mean in a conditional use zone in our commercial corridor in appropriate areas. Obviously, we haven't identified those areas yet, but I would certainly be in favor of that. And the reason for that is I don't think that we can uniformly rule out the 45-foot height limit, because I think if we do so, we can rule out potential businesses that can be beneficial to our town, beneficial to our citizens, provide us with services and products that we need. And a good example of that is, and I know this has been a polarizing point, is the Hampton Inn. The Hampton Inn gives us about $22,000 a year of property tax. It gives us about $65,000 to $70,000 a year of occupancy tax. It created about 25 new jobs. And they've averaged about 82 rooms since they opened. Those 82 rooms put in an additional 100 to 120 people in our town that we're buying from our restaurants, from our stores, our gas stations, spending literally tens of thousands of dollars each month, putting that money right back into our town. Now, obviously, I'm not, as I've said, I'm not advocating for building stalls at the Hampton Inn. I think we should leave open the possibility of at least a 45-foot mean in those additional use areas.
Thank you, Mr. Chadwick. Mr. Freeman.
Yes, I too support the 35-foot mean height throughout the town. As we stated, the conditional use zone, we have worked on that, and for the last 2 years, that has pretty well consumed the time of the board. That's most of the priorities. The conditional use zone, as it is being crafted, will allow the board members to negotiate with property owners as to what type of business, what type of structure they're wanting to build, and get the community involved, get the citizens involved as to determine what that main height would be. As far as setting a height at this time, the hotel, the height of that, we certainly should not exceed that height, but we certainly should look at what the business is and what it can bring to the community and what that investor can bring to the community. The conditional use process is going to be good to be used all over the town, where it allows us, unlike special use permits where we're in a quasi-judicial board and it's hearing time that we have to talk about, and we can't discuss things with the developer, we will be able to work with them more in what's better for the town. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. Mr. McCormac.
Yes, sir. I too support the 35-foot height limit in town in the historic district and it's the regular residential downtown district. But I am in favor of a 45-foot limitation with the conditional use zoning in other parks. Out on Highway 24, if we identify places that a building can go and there's not traffic problems and it can fit in well with the look of the town and what the town likes. I mean, I don't see how we could refuse, say, with a doctor's office or a commercial complex that was going to come in here with 10 doctors and 2 lawyers and create probably 50 jobs, and the property taxes that would come with it, to arbitrarily send it away would be wrong to me. What I like about the conditional use permit is it takes the decision-making process away from employees and puts it in the hands of elected officials. And I feel like that we're in a place to bargain with developers and get what we want. I mean, you can have a sliding scale, maybe if you allow them more height, then you have further setback away from the road. There's things you can do to make sure that the building fits in and is attractive and fits in with what we're trying to do, but also adds to the economic growth and vitality of Swansboro, and a top-notch project. I can't see turning it away just over a few feet.
Thank you, Mr. McCormac. And we'll move now to our second question. The question will be given first to Mr. Freeman, and this is the question. The Swansboro community is composed of a number of developing neighborhoods in addition to the historic downtown district. What is your community outreach plan to bring leaders together from these neighborhoods so as to create more community cohesion, a collective incentive for dialogue, and active roles and responsibilities to promote community growth and development? Mr. Freeman.
I plan to meet with different leaders in the communities. Most of the a lot of the newer communities have homeowner associations where they have selected leaders in their association, in their community. And the ones that have not, then work with the group, the core group, and those to bring them together. And downtown, to work with the Historic Association to get their feelings of what they would like to see, and all of us work together in a blend, a very synergistic manner, that we can find out what is best for our town. By listening to those folks, we can find out some services that may be better in their area, in one area that is not in another. And we can certainly look toward that as to what we need to do for each of those folks, and bring those folks together in a very open forum and listen to them as the board and also the advisory boards. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. Mr. McCormac.
Yes, sir. I think we need to continue to offer things that people want to do. Things like our concert series, the quality of life issues, the nicer amenities that we can provide and get them down to the different events we have, and that'll attract people from all over. In a sense, we're already doing it in a lot of ways. Say the Swansboro Soccer Association or the other baseball league, basketball leagues. I think we're already doing a pretty good job of being a melting pot for all the different neighborhoods. It's just a matter of maybe formalizing a little more, but also to continue to improve the quality of life things. I know we've talked about the waterfront improvement plan and the parking plan. We've got plans, we saw the other night, preliminary, to put some flagpoles and maybe some nicer pavement and just dress the area up a little more to make it somewhere where people want to be. And I think that's you can go down on a Sunday night and see all the people that come down to the concerts, and I really do feel like we already are getting people together from the different neighborhoods.
Thank you, Mr. McCormac. And Mr. Chadwick.
Well, I think we've done a good job on that right now. If you look at our website, it lists our scheduled meetings, it lists the minutes of those meetings, it lists our different plans, it lists the events, it has links to other organizations that have things going on in town. We have a Facebook page, we're on YouTube. We are trying to do the best we can to get out and let people know what's going on. We, in this past 6 years, have brought on leaders and their groups, whether it be academically recognized people for their academic achievement, their athletic achievement, their volunteerism. We've done citizen committees, citizen-driven committees for these plans. We've also actually had panels come in and help us with hiring of key positions. So we are asking for that contribution from people. But it has to be said that some of that responsibility falls on the people themselves. Tonight's a good turnout, and we really do appreciate it. I can tell you in the 6 years that I've been the mayor in all our meetings, this is probably as large a crowd as we've ever had. And I appreciate you being here tonight.
Thank you. Thanks, gentlemen. We'll move now to our third question. First, the presentation from McCormac. And the question is, over the past several years, the town leaders have commissioned and received reports for a number of community plans with numerous proposals and recommendations. What is your vision for Swansboro, and what specific goals and objectives do do you expect to be able to accomplish during your term of office to begin with this employment?
Yes, sir. I think the issue is when you look at all the different plans separately, they're great, but what we need to do is look at integrating them together to get the maximum bang for the buck and positive impacts from them. For instance, we have a parking study and a waterfront access study that can be used together to decide the best design for the Port of Swansboro docking facility. Street side improvements need to be tied in with the recommendations from the parking plan to maximize the new amenities and improvements that we can make with the flags and trees and different things without taking away too many parking spaces, because even though the parking study says parking isn't an issue, I think all the downtown merchants will agree that while it may not be an issue, in some people's eyes, for the customer that they're losing sometimes that isn't willing to drive around a little bit and find a spot, that's something they need to look at. I think the other thing we need to do is maximize our signage and streetscapes for those that are just trying to find their way around Swansboro, and let them know that they can park somewhere and maybe see a couple of nice sites or other destinations before they get to where they were originally planning to go. The other issue that was pointed out in the parking study is that a lot of times when you go to a mall, you have to walk further from the mall to whatever store you're going to than if you were to park at a side street here in Swansboro.
Thank you, Mr. McCormac. Mr. Chadwick?
The downtown Renaissance Initiative, the downtown waterfront, the bicycle plan, the Camel Land Use Plan, the Gateway Corridor Plan, the parking study, all these are plans that were citizen-driven for us to try to find out what you as public wanted. We have consistently tried to take elements out of those plans when we could afford them, when we could get grants, and implement what we could. Good examples of that would be to purchase the downtown, the Old Town Square, and construct the HC Club East Junior Pavilion. Those were key elements of the downtown plan. We've already done those. The Moore Street Dock project, the coming of the BIG grant, the big grant, the boating infrastructure grant. The Parks and Recreation plan that we have a master plan. We've implemented a good part of the Parks and Recreation plan. So we are going to do as we can as the money comes, and we've been very prudent to make sure that we spend somebody else's money along with ours when we can do that. But a good example would be the municipal park, $1 million project, $500,000 from Part F, $100,000 from the Swansboro Area Development Foundation, about $80,000 from our general fund, $319,000 was coming from the fees from our developers when we put in subdivisions. $13,000 from Brent Ashton's. I want to make you ring that bell every time. Brent Ashton's is more. So we are implementing as we can.
Thank you, Mr. Chadwick. And Mr. Freeman?
Yes, the goals on the board have been repeated, similar goals year after year without being finalized. And I certainly want to move forward to finalize the goals that we have set 4 years ago when I came on the board. The Gateway Initiative, the waterfront access and the bike trail. The bike trail is very important. A lot of people are talking about that to get it initiated, but until we get a plan in place to initiate these plans, we're not moving forward. Converting the old town hall into a museum and with the help of the Historic Association, and possibly an art gallery with the Seaside Arts Council. This brings people to the area, and it helps our database, our tax base, with people wanting to come to our area. Another venue that would be appreciated. Complete the upgrades to the Swansboro Fire Department and Police Department, bringing those together. Establish a long-range plan up to 20 years. And one main thing is to look for, in our community, Swansboro is a town, but our community encompasses all the surrounding towns and our EPJs. So those I would like to see us find a way to get a senior citizens assisted living center here with possibly a rest home where we can grow old in our town and enjoy the things into our golden years. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. We'll move along to our fourth question this evening, and the question will begin with Mr. Chadwick. The question is, concisely stated, what are the top 3 issues facing Swansboro Then for your single most important one, what is your action plan briefly and your timeline to resolution? Begin with Mr. Chadwick.
I think managing growth, we continue to pressure to approve high-density development throughout town. I think that if we do that, it affects our ability to provide services such as police and fire protection and the cost of infrastructure and streets. We need to carefully weigh each of those projects to see the benefits of town. The revitalization and preserving the downtown area historical district is number one on my list. I think we've done a great deal already doing that. There's a project we've had in there. I think we've created with the Old Town Park and the AC Club I think we created a place of friendship and fellowship and celebration. I think that brings all of our town members together. I like to decrease the dependency that we have on our state funding, and also state funding has been threatened over the last several years with the loss of the tax money, franchise fees, even power money. So we need to find creative ways to raise the revenue, and so that we can get off of that need to have the government take care of us. Also, Camp Lejeune, the reduction in the Marine Corps from 220 to 20,186, and we're on the way to 174 and possibly 150. It's going to affect our community, so I want to really increase our outlook on tourism, which I think is going to become even more important for us to be a place of destination.
Thank you, Mr. Chadwick. Mr. Freeman?
Well, the height issue, again, that's really been an issue that's held the board back from moving forward with other business. Completing the big grant, and one of the things on that, we're well within the planning stage on that, but there's not a management plan in place. I would certainly want to see a management plan in place before construction started on that project, so we would know any expenses that the town will be facing. Structuring additional waterfront access and the bike trail again, and also getting the long-range plan crafted. But most important, the height issue, and I want to make sure that that's codified and in place by our February meeting at the latest, so we can move on with the town's business.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. Mr. McCormac?
Right now, I'd say the top issue is the lack of control over our water and sewer availability. Prior to the General Assembly eliminating the ability to force annex, then that really wasn't such an issue. But now, really, the only way we're going to get somebody is to voluntarily annex. And some of the big trigger points for that used to be water and sewer availability. And without that, it just means that as a town, we're going to have to work harder to provide quality services and more efficiently, have a low tax rate to make ourselves attractive to other people that would be willing to come to our town to help us grow. So I think the lack of control over water and sewer is one issue. Another issue, like Scott had talked about, was the issues with the state of North Carolina. The eastern part of the state used to have a lot of political pull when we had Governor Easley, Governor Perdue, and then you had Senator Bass Knight. They kind of looked out for the coastal interests. Now we don't have that working for us as much, and it's going to be that much harder to fight some of the issues that we face with rising homeowners insurance and wetland issues and other things that make it harder to earn a living on the coast.
Thank you, Mr. McCormac. And we move along now to our fifth question this evening. And the question will start with Mr. Freeman. And this is the question: do you feel enacting a building moratorium is an effective way to promote Swansboro development? Please explain your position, Mr. Freeman.
No, I do not support moratoriums other than for health and safety issues. They can be used. There's other ways to resolve issues than going into moratoriums. The time that the sewer plant went into the moratorium, that was necessary due to the flow that we had, but it was quite a while before the pump got back primed where the government started back and we were able to move forward with our tax base in our town. I don't support them other than health and safety issues.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. Mr. McCormac?
I think the question itself is a little just out there. I mean, I don't think the moratorium was ever intended to promote development. The idea of a moratorium is to allow yourself, when you have no other options, it's a drastic measure. If you're somewhere and the town has no out, and they see some development that they believe that it's going to be contrary or adverse to what we're trying to do, rather than maybe let somebody slip something in, I think we owe it to the citizens of Swansboro and the people to say, hey, we're not going to do this. You're going to have to give us a moment to get this fixed. I know the last time we did it, I think we had been through 2 city managers in a relatively short time, just had a new board elected, and they felt like that maybe some things might be pushed through, that it's kind of like putting toothpaste back in the tube. If you let something happen that you know is wrong, I don't see why you would do that, and that's what the moratorium for. It's a drastic measure, but it is a measure there for a reason, and I would support it wholeheartedly. I don't know that Swansboro ever would need to use it again, and I hope they wouldn't, but if ever the situation were, I would, endorse using it.
Thank you, Mr. McCormac, and Mr. Chadwick.
I suppose there are some certain circumstances where a moratorium is effective. I don't approve of them. I would rather lock the board in the room and not let them come out until they make a decision. I haven't agreed with the most recent two. Having said that, I think that we need to do the work. We need to identify, we've talked about this over the years, we need to identify those areas and do it now. Do it before somebody, an O'Reilly's Auto comes or a Taco Bell. And I've talked about the corridor for years. We finally enacted those ordinances, and they're going to be very significant to the increase in our tax base, the quality of businesses that come to town. But we needed to do the work, and we finally got that done. Something that Mr. Freeman said actually kind of spurred me, because he would give you the impression that our board has been held up by not being able to come up with a height limit. I think you can look around town and see that our board, particularly the last 6 years, the 3 boards that I've served on, has not been held up. We may not have made a decision on that, but we've been very busy and did that.
Thank you, Mr. Chadwick. Moving right along to our 6th question tonight, which is the first crack at. The question is, over the past decade, Swansboro has invested heavily in parks and recreation. What are your priorities as related to parks and recreation? Do you envision them expanding or staying the same?
Well, first off, like with anything, I think if you're staying the same, you're actually falling behind. We need to move forward. We've hired a full-time position. I believe there's another part-time position to support that. But we need to do all we can to utilize that facility to the extent possible. I think we still have some areas, like we were talking about earlier, some things for seniors to be able to get out and enjoy quality of life in their golden years of different activities, both inside the building and out on the pathway and everything. And also, there's probably some more things we can do for our youth after school to keep them involved, maybe some tutorial programs, but I definitely think we should keep looking to expand.
Thank you, Mr. Corner. Mr. Chadwick.
Well, as I stated, I think it's, I'm in favor of expanding our programs. Obviously, I think Brittany Wood Ship is doing a fantastic job. But I think the public needs to remember the money that we spent. $500,000 on the RDEP grant, $100,000 from the Swansboro Area Development Foundation, $13,000 from Ben Ashton, $319,000 from development fees. We put $80,000 in the general fund in-depth municipal park project. It's paid for. The day we opened the building, it's paid for. $71,000 we got in the grant to build the North Street dock. We already have $130,000 for the big grant, $100,000 from U.S. Fisheries, $25,000 from the county tourism, and $5,000 from our own tourism. What I'm trying to say is, yes, we've invested in our parks, but we've been very careful and very prudent with money. And we've tried to bring that money in so that we could get the best possible product. And we've got that now, and we have a superior, I think, director of Parks and Recreation. She's doing a fabulous job. Anybody that's got kids, you're being contacted on a regular basis through emails, Facebook. Her programs for senior citizens after school are going all the time and are very well attended. So I think that I would say yes, we need to expand.
Thank you, Mr. Chadwick. And Mr. Freeman.
Yes, I will always be looking for ways to expand our parks. However, we have invested a lot of tax dollars, even the dollars that Mr. Chadwick spoke about is coming from tax dollars in ways. And we have invested quite a bit thus far. We had to increase our budget a considerable amount for the operation with the employees without a good management plan of knowing what we were going to do to begin with. Fortunately, our tax base had increased in the town where it did not impact us that heavily, and we were able to cut taxes down to 35 cents this year. So we want to keep working toward parks, but the parks are being served of our town citizens, but there's only 2,800 town citizens, and certainly the park is being funded by Parks and the Part F grant, which is state dollars. But we've got to make sure we are very cognizant of what we are spending our money on in the parks, and do it with a plan and know what it's going to cost us up front. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. Our seventh question this evening, which will begin with Mr. Chadwick. The question is, what is your vision for the Sunset Park project if grant funding is awarded? Mr. Chadwick.
First of all, if the grants aren't forthcoming, I'm not in favor of purchasing that property. We've been kind of assured that we can get $800,000 towards a $900,000 purchase price. And that's the dream of some of our commissioners, and it's been the dream for several years. What I'd like to see is that we extend the dock out and provide spaces for fishermen, that we have some kayak launches, and that we get rid of the building that's there presently with a nice restroom facility there and nice parking. I believe that even though we'll lose some revenues, property tax, I think we'll more than make up for that with the increase in tourism that visitors will have to our area. Possibly we could even rent out a space for the docks for boat tours, something like that. So I'm optimistic that we can make that project worthwhile. I'm optimistic that we can offset the loss in property tax dollars and increase tourism. And as I've said, I think that's going to be one of the ways that we create more revenue in our town, is we attract more people and make this a destination.
Thank you, Mr. Chadwick. Mr. Freeman.
Basically, the town is just a conduit to get bringing the money in and it being in the town from the grant sources that we're able to draw on. And that's going to be serving quite a few people, the tourists going through and people traveling by. And it's basically will serve similar to an overlook as you would be on the Blue Ridge Parkway, where you stop to be able to overlook the beautiful waterways of Boat Sound. And it's also going to provide us a needed source of recreational kayaking and others, as Scott said, that we would be able to lease those properties, hopefully up to lifts, not lifts, but slips to people, to be able to have charters, folks, and also have charters to take people over to Huggins Island and out to Jones Island, and to allow that to work better than the entire trip from the state park, which we're partnering with on that as well. So I think it's a win-win situation for us, and we want to limit the town tax dollars and make sure that it is within our budget with any maintenance that we would have ongoing expenses.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. Mr. McCormac.
Yes, sir. I agree, as long as we're spending grant money to get the facility, I think that's a good thing. But I think we really need to have some limited scope development there to ensure we don't incur any personnel costs, or to try to keep maintenance costs to a minimum over the long term, because as you know, docks and those kind of things in this environment, they're going to require upkeep, and they are going to be a long-term expense. So I would see more of a lot of grassy area for people to come and enjoy the water, maybe a fishing pier, maybe a few slips for a small day docker or somebody just to come and maybe dock their boat and go eat lunch. But it needs to be sort of like something like the pub, where you don't have somebody that has to be there overseeing it all the time, and that we can keep our exposure to future expenses low by not doing a lot of development there.
Thank you, Mr. McCormac. Now we go to our eighth question, which will begin with Mr. Freeman. The question is, if elected, what are the three things you expect to be able to accomplish for the Swansboro community during your term of office, Mr. Freeman?
I certainly want to unite the board to work as one and work closely with the manager to ensure that we are providing the best possible service to our citizens. and maintain a well-balanced staff, which we do have a great staff now, and we do have a well-balanced staff that works real good together. It's a family here. Also, to look to hopefully to lower the taxes by at least another 2 cents during my term, if not more, and also increase our insurance ISO rating down to a 3. That would cut quite a bit of expenses on our families, our households, our businesses, and look for additional revenue sources. And I also would be calling quarterly town hall meetings where it's beyond the normal town hall meeting, where we will be available to listen to the citizens of the town, get feedback, and hopefully answer any questions that they would have at that time. And also try to work in one of those as a yearly meeting to where we can have a social where we can get together a little bit more. A lot of business is covered when people are snacking and eating a little bit and enjoying it. So we need to get back to that within our team. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. Mr. McCormac?
Yes, sir. The first thing I would hope to accomplish is to bring a more open, inclusive style to town government. I'm a newcomer to politics, but from an outsider looking in, I wonder why issues are often so contentious in Swansboro. I'd like to see more of a style where all opinions and ideas are valued and welcomed, and we reach consensuses. I see more value in that. I may not agree with you, and you may not completely agree with my plan, but you may have an idea that can make what we're trying to do better. So I just think a more open and inclusive style of government would be better. I know we've had people that have served on advisory committees, and they go to 1 or 2, and then they quit coming because they feel like their input wasn't valued, or maybe they were just not able to get a word in edgewise. I don't know. But a specific thing I would like to do is install sidewalks where it makes sense, both in the downtown area and other neighborhoods as well. Sidewalks are a safety issue and a quality of life issue. All you need to do is look at the sidewalks in Cedar Point along Highway 24 and see how much usage they get. And that's a good thing. And specifically, the first place I would like to see sidewalks and the dock walks incorporated are to connect Bicentennial Park to Ward Shore. I believe that would help provide pedestrian access to the waterfront for tourists, and it also would benefit our residents as a safety measure to get them off the streets when they're walking onto sidewalks or dock walks away from traffic. So those are the main things I'm looking for.
Thank you, Mr. McCormac. Mr. Chadwick?
I think obviously what I'd like to complete and expect to complete would be the renovation of the town hall and the public safety center and the big grant, the dock in Church Street. And I'm going to count that as one. I'd like to complete those. I am looking forward to the implementation of and enforcement of the gateway ordinances because I think that's going to be significant in raising our tax revenues. And I think that's the secret of keeping our tax rate low, is to raise our tax revenues and have properties that are quality constructed, offer good product and good service, and raise our tax base. I think that'll help us keep our tax rate down. And then the continued revitalization of downtown, I think is very important. My concern was 6 years, and still a little concern, although I think we reversed the trend, was that businesses were closing downtown, that they weren't able to make it down there. The people who are renting the buildings need to be able to charge a rent that the renters can afford to pay, and the people who own it can afford to fix their buildings up and make a little money on their own. There's businesses that need to make money. And so I think everything that we've done down there, the Old Town Park, the pavilion, the docks, the Swan Fest concerts, all that is helping to bring people downtown and allow those businesses to survive down there.
Thank you, Mr. Chadwick. Gentlemen, we'll now move to our ninth question this evening. Begin the question with Mr. McCormac. And the question is, if elected, what else will you do to address community threats such as the potential effects of the Coastal Barrier Resources Act and program under the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, potential critical habitat designation, both terrestrial and marine, and ongoing disproportionate insurance rate increases going in the tail for coastal communities? Mr. McCormac.
Yes, sir. And really, all of those are threats. Basically, what they amount to is either the taking of use of land, greatly increasing the cost of using, living, or doing business on the land. or just completely eliminate a lot of the things we'd like to do to be able to improve them, like dredging or get federal money to improve docks or install docks. The key, I think, to fight that is to get our state representatives involved. I know in the past when we had issues with coastal homeowners having too much of a burden placed on them in rate increases, that we've had legislatures go before the rate bureau and try to work with the rate bureau to try to get the rate lowered. But a big way to do that is with the organization North Carolina 20. They're an organization that is made up of all 20 of the coastal counties that are regulated by the Coastal Area Management Act. And they have an executive director named Tom Thompson, and he's been working in the economic development field for probably 20 or 25 years. And they've already had a lot of successes. They had a study showing global sea rise in North Carolina that was able to probably save coastal homeowners, insurance customers millions of dollars over the years. And they've also been fighting a plan showing that stormwater retention basins actually cost residents by causing more of a problem with fecal coliform than diverting it. And what their point is what they want the people in the East, for the people in the East, is, look, we realize you're not going to help us, but just don't hurt us. And finally, I'd like to mention that Swansboro is a member of NC20, and that Jeff Hudson, Onslow's county manager, is a member of the board of directors.
We will continue with the oral session. Mr. Chadwick.
Unfortunately, a lot of the federal programs, such as Coastal Area Resources Act and the critical habitat designation, like a lot of federal programs, you might throw in a blanket over everything and there's no individual consideration. Our communities are doing a great job. For instance, on the Onslow beaches and the Carter County beaches, where the critical habitat designation for sea turtles, loggerhead sea turtles, is being discussed. We don't need that because we're taking care of ourselves through volunteerism, and we've done a good job here in our town with volunteerism and different things. So we need to continue through North Carolina 20, through the league municipalities, through consumer advocates, to make our feelings known in Raleigh. And we've done that. We've done resolutions and showing our disapproval of certain things like critical habitat and the rising cost of insurance, 19.8%. The week after the chamber presented, the lady came in and said that she was saying, the consumer advocates saying their insurance rate should have gone down. Our insurance commissioner makes a deal, unbeknownst to us, and our rates go up 19.8% in Onslow County. It's ridiculous. So we need to just encourage all of you to be advocates for yourselves and for us. We got to do the same thing. The town's doing it.
Thank you, Mr. Chadwick. Mr. Freeman.
I've certainly continued to work with our legislative delegation, both our state and federal, as I have been, in making one-on-one contacts and trips to Raleigh to meet with these folks regarding this. Recently we went with one of our town citizens, Betty Pierce, and we went with the busload from Onslow County, and we made our points there, and I think that helped quite a bit. That's what is needed, is to continue to work with those legislators, the ones who are legislating the laws that are bringing this down. Our insurance rates are not fair when the other parts of the state, their rates are lower, and some have not even increased, even Charlotte and some of the other areas. So it just don't make sense on that. We, of course, keep trying to bring that to light with them, and hopefully the squeaky wheel will get the grease. So I'll continue to work with that, and also we were working on a flood designation that it's kind of like an insurance ISO rating, where once we get all of that in place, the flood insurance will have some decreases from that and some percentages. And I'm not sure exactly where that's at now, but I will follow up with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. Our 10th question this evening, which will go first to Mr. Chadwick, is what specifically is your priority and plan to promote Swansboro's growth in tourism, residential and commercial sectors? Mr. Chadwick.
I'm going to start with tourism. I think we're doing that. We're working with the chamber, we're working with the different Oslo County Tourism Authority, we're working with our own tourism authority. We have supported the Arts Council, we supported the Festival Committee, the new Swansboro area event organization that did such a great job with flavor. So we will continue to support those people. The town does a great job of being I always say we're a major sponsor for tourism, and I believe we are. In residential, I think we need to continue to look at low density development. We need to ensure that we have quality development. I was in a subdivision today, Foster's Creek. We accepted the roads several years ago. The asphalt there is 3/4 of an inch thick. It needs to be resurfaced, and it's not on our priority list yet, but it's going to be after the day. So we need to continue to look at our residential and ensure that we have quality development. And commercial, I think I'm talking about that enough tonight, but the Highway 24 corridor, those ordinances are going to be important. We're going to certainly need to keep looking at that, and I think we're going to attract good businesses. And as long as we invest in ourselves, I think businesses will do the same thing.
Thank you, Mr. Chadwick. Mr. Freeman?
As mayor, I'll continue to work with the chamber, which is doing a great job, the Seaside Arts Council, which I'm a member of all of those organizations, and also the Festivals Committee, working directly with them hands-on and trying to make a difference in bringing venues to the town, as we did with the Swan Fest and the ongoing concerts that we will have this winter. Also, we need to showcase our town in every way in which we can. Maintain our residential low density and focus on affordable housing so our teachers and public servants, fire and police officers can be able to live within our town with affordable housing. And also, our children can stay here and grow up and be able to afford a house here in Swansboro rather than having to move to other towns or out into other areas. And commercial, of course, as we've said, finalizing the gateway and getting the ordinances in place should bring a resolve to that and give clear direction to the investors and the property owners as to what they can do with their property.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. Mr. McCormac?
Sir, I believe as a town, it's our responsibility to provide the infrastructure for all three of those areas to be successful. And I think how you do that is continue to work hard to provide the services that people want. You know, people want to feel safe, they want to be in an environment that's nice. So we need to continue to develop and promote the downtown area and dock walk and waterfront improvements. And also just keep services at a high quality. It's, what we're selling is the experience of Swansboro. You know, we don't have enough money to bury all the utility lines and cobblestone all the streets, but what we can do is make everything we do first class, sort of like the Disney experience. Make them come back wanting more, make Swansboro, and it already is. The other day we had a lady who was talking about the waterfront improvements, saying that the biggest thing Swansboro already has going for it is charm and things for people to do that are desirable. So we already have that. We just need to do little things that keep the area clean and inviting, and like I say, make it somewhere that people want to come back, and that'll benefit tourism, residential, and commercialism.
Thank you, Mr. McCormac. That takes us to our 11th question this evening, which will be given by Mr. Freeman. The question is, the number one recommendation from the Gateway Vision Summit report advised using the town's current codes and statutes as an existing framework to effect a nuisance abatement program and unsightly lots and buildings that would aggressively clean up the Gateway corridor. What are your plans to act upon and your timeline to accomplish this recommendation? Begin with Mr. Freeman.
Over 3 years ago, during a meeting with the Historic Preservation Committee, Mr. John Wood with the NC Historical Commission was here giving a presentation, and I asked him what we could do to clean up unsightly properties in our town. We have some along the gateway that are in the ETJ, and I was told that we could not force them to clean up. There was some different rule or something, so we've still got boats sitting in trees and dilapidated properties that we were unable to do anything with. My question to Mr. Wood was what we could do, and he recommended a ordinance called demolition by neglect. So basically, after a certain period of time, there's fines that can be levied on the property owners, and that works throughout the town. If there's a foreclosure property that's not being maintained in a subdivision, grass growing up and the banks won't take care of it, it gives you some leverage to place liens on the property. And I will work to bring that to fruition and make sure that we are able to get that enacted where we will have some teeth in our ordinance to move forward on that.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. Mr. McCormac.
Yes, sir. I think we need to be careful in these tight economic times. I wouldn't want to put somebody out of business, because they couldn't comply with our regulations as quickly as we would like. Especially, they were there long before this ordinance was enacted. What I would like to see, though, is there's different programs like Main Street USA and some other things that could help come up with some grant money, or either to help with planning to find some funds so people that needed help could get it in updating their storefronts and cleaning up the areas that don't look as nice. But I just think, it's a slippery slope, and I definitely think we ought to go out and talk with people and work with them. Maybe we have volunteers or something to help clean something up before I would start some kind of civil action or any kind of litigation against someone before you gave them every opportunity, especially as hard as it is nowadays for people to earn a living.
Thank you, Mr. McCormac. Mr. Chadwick.
First of all, we need to practice what we preach. I posed this question to some of our board members a while back. Our fire department, for instance, the metal building, we've enacted the gateway ordinances, so we need to, and we're going to renovate the fire department and make it fit into our gateway ordinances. It'll be a big building or some other suitable building material. So I think once we do that, it will show people that we're invested in our town as well. Second of all, I think we need to go out and make sure we communicate with these businesses that are not in compliance, but to make sure they know the rules, talk with them, try to find a way that we can help them solve their problem and come into compliance. I'd like to start a program where we have incentives for people to not only come into compliance, but improve their businesses. And I think the aggressive enforcement that you were talking about, I think is the last option that we should use. And I agree that we need to be very careful in this economic time that we don't put too much pressure on our businesses. But I think if we work with them and we show them how they can do it, and we can find a way to help them. And we might be able to do that with nonprofit groups helping us with some of the monies for the grant.
Thank you, Mr. Chadwick. And that takes us to our 12th question this evening. Quick question. One for the answer. Why specifically are you seeking this office? And begin with Mr. McCormac.
Yes, sir. The reason I chose to run for mayor is because I felt like the people needed a choice. We have Mr. Chadwick and also Mr. Freeman. They both have served on the board for a number of years, and I just felt like that we needed somebody to come in and run and maybe present a different point of view and give people an option. Like Mr. Chadwick said, when he was elected, people felt like there was time for a change, and that's why I'm running. Like I said, I feel like that this is a small town, a great community, and I don't understand why we have such hard feelings sometimes on issues and people get so caught up in things. I mean, this is Swansboro, the friendly city by the sea. And more than that, I'm running for my children. My family, my wife's family, had a business here for 60 years. And I want to encourage them to have the ability to have a business for 60 years. When I was out walking around talking to people, one night I was talking to a guy and everything was going good. And he said, I would vote for you, but I have to vote for something else because they helped me get my house built. Well, I don't really think that's the role of a commissioner or the mayor or anybody. I think Swansboro has good enough ordinances, and if they're not good enough, then we need to fix them to where people can build houses without having to feel like they need to get help from somebody on the board or who serves, in an elected official, elected spot. Things should stand on their own merit. Otherwise, it makes me wonder, why did they need the help? Anyway, that's why I'm running, because I like Swansboro the way it is, and I hope it stays that way.
Thank you, Mr. McCormac. Mr. Chadwick.
Well, I think that it's obvious. I love Swansboro. My wife and I have chosen to raise our kids here. I love the Norman Rockwell feel of it when you're downtown on a Sunday afternoon, watching one of the Swan Fest concerts. I like the idea that there's live music downtown almost every night now, or during Saturdays and Sundays. And I like that we do have a diversity of different types of people here. And we have good schools, we have good teachers. But I want to be part of it because we've done so many things. I want to finish the accomplishments that we've started out, those projects that we have going, the town hall, the public safety building, the docks that we're working on, and even the Sunset Park. I want to complete those things. There's an old saying that if you're not doing anything, people aren't talking about you. I'm not, where I'm concerned that there is contentious moments. I'm not going to shy away from hard decisions, or decisions I think benefit the town. Not everybody's going to agree, and I don't think it's always have to be a 5-0 vote in the board meeting. That doesn't mean that your board is not effective. I think you have to vote your conscience. You have to think what's going to be best and beneficial to the town, and you make those decisions based on that, not whether it's popularity contest.
Thank you, Mr. Chadwick. Mr. Terry?
And I began my term 4 years ago. There was a communication between the mayor and board members, and that has not been the case over the last 2 years. And the board is not unified on all issues, and certainly they're not expected to be. But there's more than normal, I feel. And the board structure has changed since the 6 years ago. The board structure has changed, and I endorse that change. I worked very hard to make that change. Now the board is returning to the same as it was, and I better understand the feelings of those folks and understand how things were working on that board. And I feel that with my leadership, that I can work with the people and bring everybody together and create unity where we will be working together on all issues and in an economic manner. Our town, Swansboro is paradise, and we love the community, and I'm vested in the community and want to grow old and go out in this community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. That takes us to our 13th and final question, the prepared question. And we have two from the So let's read, we're going to do this question and this question, our 13th tonight, will begin with Mr. Chadwick. The question is, what specific skills and talents do you have to lead the town of Swansboro in this position? Have you ever held an elected office before? How many town council meetings have you attended this year?
Well, I've held an elected office for the last 6 years. I've been Mayor of Swansboro. I've attended in that time 144 regular monthly meetings and 143 regular workshops and hundreds of other meetings for the citizens of Swansboro. Special talents. I came here 6 years ago with a vision and a passion, and I think that vision and that passion, while it might have upset some people, have engaged our staff, and I think the proof's in the pudding, as my daddy always said. You look at what we've been able to accomplish in those 6 years, and I'm proud of that, and I'm not satisfied with it. I still want to keep going. We've been able to create a good staff here. We've been fortunate to have good management, and I'm looking forward to continuing the process that has gotten us such good results. I think I'll leave it at that, Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Chadwick. Mr. Freeman.
Over the past 40 years, I've been involved in a number of civic organizations. I've been the president and chair of several of those, conducting many meetings in the different organizations. And I've also built and owned several businesses employing hundreds of people. I've also been an employee with state government and also in the private sector as an employee. When I was 16, my father died, and my mother and I continued a farming operation. My last 2 years of high school, I was given the responsibility of driving a school bus. I learned very early to take leadership roles, and I feel that I can continue to do that as I serve the people of Swansboro. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. Mr. McCormac.
Yes, sir. My current position, I serve as Education Chief at Marine Corps Air Station, New River. I have a facility with 2 buildings. We have a library, a learning lab, computer lab, probably 12 classrooms. We have 9 colleges there with offices, the whole classes there. And probably have 400 students out there at any one time going to school. And we do about $2.5 to $3 million a year in tuition assistance for the Marines that we serve. So I'm used to doing briefs for the CO, XO, command staff. I deal with people that are important. I feel like I could represent Swansboro well. Prior to that, I worked in workforce development at Creighton Community College. We worked with the head of Hadra Schatz. We worked with Tryon Palace. We provided classes and training, and we were a regional consortium for Department of Correction training. Prior to that, I worked for the Carter Publishing Company, and did things down at the State Court, worked with Eric Stromberg, Executive Director of the Sports Authority. So I'm used to dealing, and I feel like I could represent Swansboro well. As far as what I bring to the table, I don't have an ego. I feel like that if we have success, there's enough to go around, for everybody. So I would like to bring people in and let's work together and come to consensus. Like I say, I'd rather people talk in the meetings, their ideas, than be out in the street talking or talking in the newspaper. I believe I could do that, so that's why I'm running for mayor.
Thank you, Mr. McCormac. Now, we have 2 questions that have been submitted by 2 citizens tonight in attendance, and I'm going to investigate this question that this person has written. It's going to be the question. We'll start with Mr. Freeman. How do you feel, and what is your stance on chain restaurants in the downtown and 24 corridor, fast food restaurants, full service style? What are the disadvantages and advantages, and I guess the effects on the tax base, the income for town, and the effects these types of establishments have on our small town feel? Mr. Freeman.
That's a big.
Gentlemen, run it by you one more time.
Yes, please.
How do you feel, and what is your stance on chain restaurants in the downtown and 24 corridor, fast food, full service style? Right or rights refer to disadvantages and advantages, tax base, income for town, and effects on our small town feel.
Well, as far as a chain restaurant being downtown, I don't think that's the place in our historic downtown area. The Gateway, there of course are already several chain restaurants, and that basically is the only type of restaurant that can survive, that has the background and the backing to operate. They create a needed service, not only providing what the people who are moving here and the families are accustomed to, making it available in our area, but they build our tax base and provide a tremendous amount of jobs for our young people. So I think we need to look very closely at those and allow those businesses within the guidelines that we have now set for their building designs and landscaping and so forth. I think they will enhance the town by the tax base. The commercial sector is what drives our tax base to where it does not levy totally on the home.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. Mr. McCormac.
Sir, I agree with what Mr. Freeman said. I don't think we're ever going to see a chain restaurant down in historic Swansboro, the downtown area. But I know some people that heartburn with McDonald's locating out on Highway 24. And the issue there is probably, well, it's a property rights issue. If it's a permitted use in that area, then they have every right to come there. Where I see our role is to negotiate with them to get a style of architecture or something that differentiates it from your average McDonald's in anywhere in America and make it fit into Swansboro style. Because also I agree it's going to add to the tax base and it'll add to the jobs and just the general economic well-being of our community.
Thank you, Mr. McCormac. Mr. Chadwick.
Downtown, absolutely not. And that was one of the main purposes of the Gateway plan, was to keep us from becoming anywhere USA or Western Boulevard. Anybody that's been in our meetings have heard me say, I don't want to be Western Louisville. We need to pursue the conditional use areas so that we can have even more influence on what type of buildings we build. But the fast food restaurants on Highway 24 and our commercial corridor are going to happen, and they are going to be beneficial for the town. People want. Jim Allen wants a Bojangles so bad it's tasty. And I can too. And so, but that Bojangles doesn't have to look like every Bojangles in Jacksonville. It doesn't have to. And you can find, and we've got pictures of where they built in other areas that insisted that no, you need to be unique. And McDonald's does it. O'Reilly's has done it, although O'Reilly's came in before we enacted the gateway ordinances, and they're probably going to do the same O'Reilly's building up there that they do everywhere else. So I think the gateway is going to be very important, and I know we're going to have restaurants out there and look forward to the tax base they're going to create.
Thank you, Mr. Chadwick. And our second question submitted by a citizen here tonight, and we'll start with Mr. McCormac on this one. Being a mayor in Swansboro and handling the town's business these days is just about a full-time job. How much time would you devote to the job if elected mayor of Swansboro?
I would devote however much time it takes to get it done. That's just the basic truth of it. You know, I feel like when my children were younger and we were out at the baseball field or the basketball court, the gym or whatever, I didn't have the time, but now I feel like I do have the time and I'm willing to give back. And it's like an old saying, I'll throw one out there too. If you're Spanish mackerel fishing and you're catching blues, then you need to speed the boat up.
Well, I'm not as fortunate as Rick. My kids are still at home, and so I plan most of my meetings during the day and early evening, because I try to be home every night at 8:30. I put in the time, we continue to put in the time, but I'm comfortable with the fact that we have a council, manager, form of government. We have professionals that run the day-to-day operations of our business. I'm in contact with Dave quite a bit and with some of the staff members, but honestly, I want to do what it takes to get the job done.
Thank you, Mr. Chadwick. Okay. No more questions, Tom?
That's it.
No, you get a chance.
Oh!
You had that one. I will spend all the time that's needed to represent our town as I have been. I've enjoyed serving on the town board for the last 4 years, and I certainly want to continue to do that. I have attended the League of Municipalities on each of the 4 years and just got back with Commissioner Allen, the manager and Human Resources Officer this weekend, my wife from Hickory in doing so. I'm accumulated points in the League Academy. I'm on the League Economic and Environmental as well. I serve on that. The networking with those folks is great, that we can bring back ideas, and there's quite a few seminars, just like the CEU updates that I have to have with the license that I carry. I feel that's very important. And also, demanding on time of going to the meetings. I have attended all the Onawassa meetings, and if I'm fortunate enough to be elected, hopefully I'll be able to continue doing that and helping our town go forward with that. It takes quite a bit of time, meeting with the general officers and all with the Camp Lejeune and making those contacts. It goes a long way when you're in a social setting of contacts you make that helps the community. And I'll continue to do that, whether I am on the board or not. I'll continue to be an ambassador for Swansboro. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Now, that concludes our question. There are questions to the candidates tonight. At this time, I'd like to give each candidate the opportunity for a 90-second closing statement. Our order will be in reverse, out of order, with Mr. McCormac going first. Mr. McCormac.
Sir, I'm very serious about why I chose to run, and like I say, I love Swansboro and it's my home. I get up in the morning, on the weekends, I walk over, cut out the lights, or cut on the lights to open up Casper's, and I walk through, and there's a seawall over there. My mother died 5 years ago with cancer, and she was cremated, and they actually threw her ashes in the butterfly garden at our church in Southern Pines. When I go over there on that seawall, my wife created a little headstone for her over there. So that's my home, and that's where it's always going to be. I walk inside the dry stack, we walk through there. I think about my wife. We just got the building, just inside it, and she says, Rick, we need to go to the hospital. We'll probably go into labor. That's where my son Ward, that's where his birth process started, I guess. What I'm saying is this is my home. I don't take it lightly. I was highly offended, it was probably 5 or 6 years ago. This is why I got into politics. There was property across the street from my house next to my father-in-law's marina that had been understood that it was part of the business overlay district, and if you're going to have a house there, you're going to have a business there. We met 5 or 6 times, kept having a dog and pony show, bringing people out, and finally it worked out, but it never should have come to that, and it still bothers me to this day the way that process went down. I was here in probably 89 or 90 when Fort Williams had his clam house, and a good friend of ours named Hubert Parrott was going to build a house there. The Chamber of Commerce and everybody came out in forces to stop that. Nobody said a thing about the house across from Casper's, or it wasn't the same. So we're good. That's why I'm involved. I truly love Swansboro.
I love Swansboro as well, and our family is here, and as I said, hopefully this will be my last stop many years down the road. Well, I've worked hard to try to make Swansboro a better place and to work with the folks and all the citizens as well as surrounding towns. Kind of the last 2 or 3 months, and even today, I'm very busy and trying to build out the old garment factory, which I felt that was a need that needed to go forward with bringing jobs to the community, as it did when Linda and I built out the old Pack-a-Sack. It's bringing new life into old structures. And that is taking a lot of time, but I'd like to be out meeting a lot more people and politicking as such. But anyway, things will work out as they may. But I feel like those 48 jobs coming to the center of our business area is very important. So I'll continue to do those things, and I just hope that each of you will consider me as your mayor, and I will certainly give my heart and soul to work for this town. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. Mr. Chadwick?
Mike, in 2007, when Tennessee AC police I were elected, our net capital assets were $1.97 billion. At the end of 2012, they were $5.1 million. Our outstanding debt in 2007 was $2.78 million. That was $1,600 per citizen. Our outstanding debt today is $1.35 million, or $500 per capita. Our undesignated unreserved fund in 2007 was $789,000. Today it's $1.34 million, almost 48% of our budget. That didn't happen with just me being here, but it happened with a good team, a good member of staff to implement the visions and the policies of the boards that I've served on, and we're proud of that. We did that by conservative, goal-based budgeting. That's how we did it. We did it with strategic use of funds from our community for community improvements in the constant pursuit of saving money and finding grants. And we've done that, and we're proud of it. And I'd ask you tonight to ask your friends to support me for one more term so we can finish what we've started. Thank you very much, and I appreciate everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Chadwick. Well, that concludes tonight's mayoral forum.